Hey, this is Steve from myothercareer.wordpress.com, and in today's video I'm going to have some closing thoughts on round one of the Cyberspace Open. If you're interested in see the entry that I submitted, it'll be linked as a PDF below this video on the blog. So I submitted my entry last night. I'm relatively pleased with it. I think this scene prompt, or at least the prompt for round one this year, was much more difficult than the round one prompt of last year's Cyberspace Open. Subtext is a very difficult thing to do in some genres, and good subtext definitely separates the Joes from the Schmoes, so to speak. And in my particular instance, I tend to lean towards thriller and action-oriented stories, and I think this type of prompt leans itself well towards dramatic or comedic type of storytelling. So writers who tend to specialize in those areas, I think, had an advantage because of, subtext is very important in those. A lot of comedy is based around subtext and properly pulling it off. And while I'm a relatively funny guy in real life, I got good timing. I can crack jokes and zingers left and right. I'm known as a funny guy. From a writing standpoint, forget it. I've tried, and I'm just not there where I can translate jokes to the page in any manner that is entertaining. So I'll be interested to see how people score. I think the scores this year will be lower than last year. I was in the mid-90s in my round one scores for last year. I think I tied for the fourth highest score with a bunch of other people. And I don't anticipate scoring that high this year, if even getting to round two. But at the same point, I chose to write a horror-oriented script. I actively attacked the horror genre prize on purpose because I've been neck deep in working on The Prey, which is a horror script, and like I had said in my suggestions video, if you're in the middle of a project, borrow from that world and from those elements. And when I read the prompt, the idea that popped into my head, pretty much fully formed, was a couple barricaded in their second floor bedroom as zombies were trying to break down the door, and out the window was basically the end times. The zombie apocalypse. So while this couple is up there, they're dealing and arguing and going over their pending divorce. That was what they were there for originally before the zombie apocalypse started. So that all just popped into my head, and I knew within a minute what scene I was going to write. I had the first draft done Saturday morning, and I was relatively pleased with it. It was about 5.5 pages, so I was about halfway down the 6th page. And as I do with first drafts for my regular screenplays, I just wrote until I knew I had captured the scene. I'm not worried about dialogue being too on the nose. I left little notes for myself in the description. I just write enough so that I know I've got what I'm trying to say down. And then after my draft, when I go through and redline it and edit it and polish it up, that's when I make it better. That's when I'll work on making my entering the scene more active, on making the dialogue less on the nose, on adding in subtext when it's applicable and when I can do it properly. So, I approached this entry the same way I did a regular script. And so after having the first draft done Saturday morning, I took a few hours off and did some things, and then came back for a couple writing sessions every few hours and tinkered with it and polished until last night it was at a point where I was said, okay, there's nothing more I can do to this to make it better. If I keep tinkering with it, I'll probably make it work. So, I'm pleased. I enjoyed it. I don't feel like I'm a failure as a writer, but when it comes to something as challenging as this, and simply the volume of people entering, the question is, do I have anything that rises above the majority of other people? And, maybe I don't. I don't know. I didn't think I did last year, and I did all right, but this is a different prompt than last year, so we'll see. It's not the end of the world. But best of luck to anybody else who submitted an entry out there. I'll be interested to read some of the top 100 plus scoring entries. I read a couple of those last year, and I really enjoyed most of them. You know, when you're reading a 3 to 5 page scene, I think I read 7 or 8 entries last year, and, you know, it took me about 10, 12 minutes. You know, these things go through fast. So it's fun to see how many different ways people can attack the same scene. I read last year a story about some squirrels trying to get up to a window to get a flower, you know, and their second round entry was a follow-up on that story. So, you know, it's just a lot of fun to read the creative ways people come up with this stuff. So we'll see how things iron out. But that's going to be it. So until next time, this is Steve from eithercareer.wordpress.com. Keep writing.